A gunshot echoed through the empty street as a small hand pulled him into the shadows. "Don't look back," whispered the 7-year-old girl who had just saved a billionaire's life. But no one imagined the truth that connected them. Hey there! Before we dive in, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe for more powerful stories that'll touch your heart. The gunshot shattered the silence of Maple Street at 11:47 p.m. Richard Morrison felt the bullet whistle past his ear. "Give me everything, now!" The masked man's voice cracked with desperation, the gun shaking in his trembling hands. Richard's heart hammered. At 45, he'd survived hostile corporate takeovers, but nothing had prepared him for a gun pointed at his chest. The street was deserted. His driver had dropped him 3 blocks away. He'd wanted to walk, to clear his head. Now that decision might cost him his life. "I said now!" The assailant stepped closer. Richard reached for his wallet, fingers fumbling. Here he was, Richard Morrison, CEO of Morrison Industries, worth $3 billion, about to be robbed in a neighborhood he owned half of. Suddenly, a small figure darted from the shadows. A child. A little girl in worn clothes, her dark hair tangled, face smudged with dirt. But her eyes burned with fierce determination. "Run!" she screamed. The assailant spun toward her. The gun swiveled away from Richard's chest. The girl grabbed Richard's hand with surprising strength. Her palm was calloused, rough. "Don't look back!" she commanded, pulling him into a narrow alley. Richard stumbled after her, his expensive shoes slipping on wet pavement. Behind them, another gunshot cracked. Brick dust exploded beside his head. The girl moved like she knew every inch of these streets, darting through passages so narrow his shoulders scraped the walls. His lungs burned, but the small hand never let go. They emerged into a cluttered backyard. The girl pushed him behind a dumpster, pressing her finger to her lips. Her chest heaved, but her eyes remained alert, watching with a soldier's wariness. They waited in tense silence. Finally, the footsteps faded. The girl turned to him, smiling, small, cautious, but genuine. "You're safe now, mister." "You saved my life," Richard whispered. "What's your name?" The smile faded. "Nobody important." "Everyone's important. I'm Richard. Richard Morrison." The girl's eyes widened, recognition flashing before she shuttered it away. She knew his name. "I'm Emma," she said finally. Richard pulled out $100 bills. "Here, take this." "You saved—" "I don't want your money." Sharp, almost angry, Emma stepped back, fists clenching. "I didn't do it for money." Richard stared, confused. Every person he'd encountered wanted something from him, but this child refused. "Then why?" Emma's jaw tightened. "Because nobody should die alone in the dark, not even people like you." People like you?" An accusation. Before he could respond, Emma turned and walked away. "Wait. Where are you going? Do you have somewhere safe?" Emma paused, looking back. In that moment, in the angle of her face, Richard felt something crack inside his chest. A memory, a face he'd tried to forget. "I always survive, Mr. Morrison. It's what I do." She disappeared into the alleys like a ghost. Richard stood alone, heart pounding. Those eyes, that stubborn chin. He'd seen them before, in someone he'd loved and left 12 years ago. Sarah, his ex-wife, the woman he'd abandoned when she was pregnant. His hand shook as he pulled out his phone. 17 missed calls. But all he could see were those fierce, familiar eyes. His daughter would be 11 now, if Sarah had kept the baby. But this girl looked 7, unless she was malnourished. Richard Morrison stood in a garbage-strewn backyard and felt his world crumble. That little girl wasn't just his savior, she might be his daughter. Richard didn't sleep. He sat in his penthouse, 60 floors up, staring at his reflection. At 6:30 a.m., his assistant Maria arrived. She stopped short, seeing him in yesterday's clothes. "Mr. Morrison?" "Maria, find someone for me." Discreetly. His voice was rough. Sarah Morrison, my ex-wife. Last known address, Portland, 12 years ago. I need to know where she is now and if she has children. Maria's eyebrows rose. I'll have it by noon. At 11:47 a.m., Maria placed a manila folder on his desk. Prepare yourself, she said quietly. Richard opened it with trembling hands. Sarah Morrison, now Sarah Bennett, 38. Worked 3 jobs, housekeeping at Portland General Hospital, waitressing at Joe's Diner, cleaning offices at night. Photos showed a woman worn thin by life. He turned the page. Emma Rose Bennett, born April 15th, 14 years ago. Age, 11 years old. 11, not 7. Malnourishment, the report noted. Chronic. Developmental delays due to inadequate nutrition. Richard's stomach turned. Missed significant school due to homelessness. Currently staying in shelters when available, sometimes on streets. Known to police as frequent runaway from foster care. Always escapes to return to mother. Photos devastated him. Emma at school in oversized uniform. Emma carrying bags too heavy for her. Emma on a bus bench at night, eyes wide open while Sarah slept on her shoulder. One photo stopped his heart. Emma standing in front of Morrison Tower, his building, staring up with longing. 3 months ago, she'd known who he was. There's more, Maria said. Sarah Bennett collapsed at work 2 days ago. Exhaustion and malnutrition. She's at Portland General now. She can't afford the bill. CPS is considering removing Emma. His daughter was about to lose her only parent. Find them, Richard said. Right now. Sir, I don't care. Find them today. Maria left. Richard stared at photos. Don't look back, Emma had said. Trying to save him from more than robbery. His phone buzzed. Maria's text, Portland General, room 412. Sarah is awake. Emma is with her. Richard grabbed his coat and left, ignoring his secretary about a board meeting. For the first time in 12 years, he was choosing something over business. The hospital smelled like antiseptic. 4th floor. Room 412 at the end. Through the door gap, he saw Sarah in bed, IV tubes in her arm, fragile, breakable. Beside the bed, Emma curled in a plastic chair, asleep but positioned protectively. Richard raised his hand to knock. Emma's eyes snapped open. Recognition, fear, then fierce protectiveness. She slipped out without waking Sarah, pulling the door closed. What are you doing here? Low, angry. I know who you are, Richard said quietly. Emma, I know you're my daughter. Emma's jaw tightened, fists clenching. I don't have a father, she said, each word sharp as glass. I have a mother who worked herself sick, that's all I need. Emma, please, let you what? Write a check and feel better. Her voice rose. Fix 12 years of nothing with money. I want to help. Your mother. Don't talk about my mom. Emma stepped forward. Despite her size, Richard stepped back. You don't get to say her name. You don't get to suddenly care. Last night, I saved you because Mom taught me everyone deserves a chance, even people who don't deserve it. Emma's voice cracked. I knew who you were. I've always known. Mom showed me one picture so I'd know your face if you ever came back. She told you about me. She told me my father loved money more than family. That he signed divorce papers while she was pregnant. That he never asked if I existed. Tears filled her eyes. She told me, then worked 3 jobs so I never needed you. Each word cut away his rationalizations. I'm sorry, Richard whispered. Emma, I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't pay hospital bills. Sorry doesn't give Mom back 12 years. Sorry doesn't... Her voice broke. The door opened. Sarah stood there, gripping the IV pole, face pale. When she saw Richard, pain flickered. Baby, come here, Sarah said softly. Emma immediately went to her, wrapping arms around Sarah's waist. Not here. Not now, Sarah said quietly but firmly. Whatever you have to say, my daughter doesn't need to hear. Emma, go to the cafeteria. I'm not leaving you. I'll be fine. Please, baby. Emma hesitated, shot Richard one last fierce look, then left. When Emma was gone, Sarah gestured into the room. "You have 5 minutes." Sarah closed the door and slowly returned to bed. Richard remained near the door. 12 years of silence and you show up now," Sarah said. "Why? She saved my life last night. Emma, I was being robbed. I didn't realize until later who she was." Sarah laughed bitterly. "Of course she did. Emma has a hero complex, always saving people who don't deserve it. I tried to save you once too. Look how that turned out. Sarah, please let me help. The hospital bills, Emma's needs." "Stop." Sarah held up her hand. "You think money solves everything? I'm not trying to buy redemption. Your daughter?" Sarah's voice rose, then cracked. "You gave up that right when you left. When you signed papers without asking if she was a boy or girl. When you changed your number and moved to a penthouse while we lived in a shelter." Each accusation landed like a blow. "You're right," he said quietly. "What I did was unforgivable. But Emma shouldn't suffer because of my mistakes. Emma has suffered every single day because of your mistakes." Tears streamed down Sarah's face. "Do you know what it's like telling your daughter her father chose money over her? Watching her stand outside your building hoping to catch a glimpse, holding her while she cries, asking what's wrong with her that made you leave?" Richard's legs felt weak. "She stood outside my building. Every month on her birthday for years, hours at a time, she'd stare up at those windows." Sarah wiped angrily at tears. "She stopped 6 months ago, finally gave up, and now here you are. When I realized who she was, you had to ease your conscience." Sarah shook her head. "Richard, I know you. You don't do anything unless there's something in it for you. People change. Do they?" Richard couldn't find words. "What do you want me to do?" he asked finally. Sarah was quiet, eyes closed. When she opened them, there was steel. "I want you to leave us alone. We've survived this long without you. We'll continue." But the hospital bills, I'll handle it." "Sarah, you collapsed. CPS is considering—" Sarah's face went pale. "How do you know about that?" "I had someone investigate after last night." "You had us investigated?" Deadly quiet. "You hired someone to spy on us?" "I just needed to know if you were okay." "Get out!" Sarah pressed the call button. "Get out right now." "Sarah, wait! I said get out!" A nurse stepped in. "Everything all right, Miss Bennett?" "This man is leaving," Sarah said, not looking at Richard. "He's not welcome." Richard wanted to argue, but he saw it in her eyes. The wall built over 12 years. His presence was a threat. "I'm sorry," Richard said helplessly. He walked to the door, paused. "I'll pay the hospital bill anyway, anonymously." "Watch me refuse it," Sarah shot back. Richard stepped into the hallway. At the end, Emma sat on a bench with a milk carton, watching him with fierce eyes. Richard walked toward her slowly. She didn't run. "Your mother told me to leave," Richard said. "Good. You should listen. She's smart." Emma sipped milk. "She's smart about everything. Emma, I know you hate me." "I don't hate you." That surprised Richard. "Hate means you care. I don't feel anything about you. You're just nothing, a blank space where a father should be." The words cut deeper than hatred. Richard sat on the bench, keeping distance. "Last night, you told me nobody should die alone in the dark. You saved me knowing who I was. Why?" Emma was quiet. "Mum says everybody deserves a chance to be better than their worst moment, even you." She crushed the carton. "But I don't think you want to be better. I think you want to feel better about being the same. You're very wise. I'm 11, not stupid. When you grow up like I did, you see people clearly. No filters." Emma stood. "Here's the truth, Mr. Morrison. You're here because helping us makes you feel good. It's still selfish. You're wrong. I'm here because you're my daughter, and I failed you." "Failed?" Emma's laugh was sharp. "Failing is trying and not succeeding. You never tried. You just left." She started toward her mother's room, paused. Mom told me the hardest thing about losing you wasn't that you left. It was realizing you'd never really been there to begin with. Emma disappeared into room 412. Richard sat alone, his daughter's words echoing. "You're just nothing. A blank space." His phone buzzed. Maria, reminding about the board meeting. Richard looked at the closed door, then his phone. The choice from 12 years ago, asking to be made again. This time he turned off his phone and sat down to wait. Even if they never let him in, he could at least stop leaving. 3 days passed. Richard became a fixture in the 4th-floor waiting area. He slept on chairs, bought vending machine coffee, learned nurses' names. Sarah refused to see him. Emma came out once daily, walking past without acknowledgement. But Richard noticed things. Emma's shoes had holes, same clothes every day. She limped slightly. On the 3rd evening, an elderly woman sat beside him, knitting something blue. "You're the father," she said. Not a question. "Yes. How?" "I'm Doris. I volunteer here. I've known Sarah and Emma for years." Her needles clicked. "That girl has had an ear infection for 3 months because antibiotics cost too much." 3 months? Sarah tried home remedies. You can see how Emma tilts her head, trying to hear. Doris glanced at him. "That little girl is suffering needlessly. I've tried to help. They won't accept anything. Have you tried listening instead of offering?" Doris's needles paused. "Sarah doesn't want your money. She wants to know you give a damn about that little girl for who she is. I don't know how. Then learn. Quickly, because Sarah's discharged tomorrow. CPS is coming. They've been living in Sarah's car for 2 weeks. If conditions are unsuitable, Emma goes into foster care." The world tilted. They're living in a car? Behind the library, Emma does homework by flashlight. They wash in public restrooms. Sarah cries when she thinks Emma's asleep. Richard felt sick. There has to be something. Stop trying to be the hero. Start being the man who shows up. Who listens, who proves through action, not money. Doris finished a row. Sarah's car, 2008, Honda, broken heater, is in Lot C, space 47, needs an oil change, back left tire is bald. Richard pulled out his phone, making notes. Emma walks to Madison Elementary, 3 miles, leaves at 6:15 a.m., late 17 times this semester. More notes. Sarah's afraid to apply for assistance, thinks it'll trigger CPS. But there are community resources she doesn't know about. Food banks, clothes closets, free clinics. Someone would need to tell her, anonymously. "You know a lot about them." "I pay attention, I care." Doris met his eyes. "Do you care enough to do the work? Not easy work of writing checks, but hard work of being present?" Before Richard could answer, Emma emerged with McDonald's. She froze, seeing him with Doris. "It's all right, dear," Doris called. "Mr. Morrison was just leaving." Emma approached cautiously. "Hi, Miss Doris." "Hello, sweetheart. I brought you something." Doris pulled out a stuffed animal, a blue rabbit. "Finished it last night." Emma's face lit with joy. "Really? For me? For you? Every girl needs a friend." Emma hugged the rabbit, glanced at Richard with something like curiosity before it hardened. She sat beside Doris, turning her back to Richard. "How's your mum?" Doris asked gently. "Better. She ate real food. Doctor says she can leave tomorrow if she rests." Emma's voice dropped. "But she's worried about work and where we'll go." Richard's chest tightened. He stood, knowing his presence made Emma uncomfortable. As he walked away, he heard Emma. "I don't trust him, Miss Doris. Mom taught me people like him don't change." And the words followed Richard home, but Doris had given him a roadmap, not to redemption, but to showing up. Richard spent that night making calls, a friend with an auto shop, a classmate at a non-profit, a cousin at a free clinic. By morning, he had a plan to show up in empty spaces, help without credit. Sarah's car got serviced that night. Anonymous donor, tire replaced, Oil changed, heater fixed, gas filled, community resources packet appeared in Sarah's room, food banks, free clinics, legal aid, left by a volunteer. Emma's teacher received a call from a benefactor wanting to sponsor a student. The teacher knew exactly who. Richard did all this from shadows, nothing traceable, nothing Sarah could refuse, and every day he showed up at the hospital, didn't try to talk, just sat, reading reports, making calls, being present, being there. On the fourth day, Emma appeared before him, holding her blue rabbit, studying him. "Did you fix Mom's car?" she asked bluntly. Richard's instinct was to lie, but something in Emma's expression stopped him. "Yes," he admitted. "And the food bank stuff?" "Yes." "And my teacher?" "Yes." Emma was quiet. "Why secretly?" "Because your mother wouldn't accept help from me directly, and because helping shouldn't be about me getting credit. It should be about you and your mom getting what you need. Miss Doris told me people show who they are by what they do when nobody's watching." Emma clutched her rabbit. "Are you trying to show us who you are?" "I'm trying to show you who I want to be. I know it doesn't erase what I did, but maybe, if I keep showing up, maybe someday you'll believe I'm genuinely sorry." Emma's jaw tightened. For a moment, Richard thought she'd walk away. Instead, she sat next to him, leaving one empty seat between them. "Mom cried when she found the car fixed," Emma said quietly. "Happy crying. She hasn't done that in a long time." Richard's throat tightened. "I'm glad. She doesn't know it was you. I didn't tell her." "Thank you." Silence. Then Emma said, "I still don't forgive you. I don't know if I ever can. I understand. But," Emma took a breath, "maybe you're not completely nothing anymore. Maybe you're like 5% something. Smallest olive branch, but to Richard, it felt like everything. I'll take 5%, and I'll work on earning the other 95. Emma looked at him directly. "It's going to take a really long time, years, and you have to keep showing up even when it's hard, and we're mean to you." "I will." "You promise?" Richard thought about all the broken promises, but looking at his daughter's face, suspicious, hopeful, scared, he knew this was the one he couldn't break. "I promise. I'll show up every day, for as long as it takes." Emma nodded slowly, stood. "Okay, but I'm watching you. If you mess up even once, you're back to nothing." "That's fair." Emma started to walk away, turned back. "Hey, Mr. Morrison?" "You can call me Richard." "Richard, then." Emma shifted. "Mum's discharged tomorrow morning. We meet with CPS at 10 a.m. They're checking our living situation." "I know. Are you going to try to take me away, use your money to get custody?" The question hit like a punch. "God, no. Emma, I would never, because that's what Mom's afraid of. That's why she won't talk to you. She thinks you're going to try to take me." Richard stood, needing Emma to see his face. "I would never, ever try to take you from your mother. Sarah raised you, sacrificed everything. She's your real parent. I just want a chance to be part of your life if you'll let me. But on your terms, and Sarah's terms. Always." Emma studied him. "Then maybe you should tell her that." "She's scared, Richard. Really scared. She won't see me. Maybe she will now. Maybe if I ask her to listen, just for 5 minutes she will." Emma hugged her rabbit. "But you have to promise you'll tell her the truth. No lawyer talk, just the truth." "What truth?" "That you're sorry, that you were wrong, that you don't want to take me away, that you just want a chance." Emma's voice softened. "And that you know you don't deserve it." Richard nodded, not trusting his voice. "Okay, tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. before CPS comes. Mom's room, 5 minutes. Emma pointed at him. "Don't be late, and don't bring anything except yourself. No gifts, no flowers, no checks, just you." "I'll be there." Richard arrived at 7:30 a.m., too nervous to risk being late. He'd barely slept, changed clothes 3 times. Simple clothes, jeans and a button-down. No suit, no armor. At exactly 8 a.m., He knocked on room 412. "Come in," Sarah's voice called. Richard entered. Sarah sat up in bed, dressed, discharge papers beside her. Emma in the plastic chair, blue rabbit in lap. Both watched him, guarded, wary, but willing to listen. "Thank you," Richard said, remaining near the door. "I'm doing this for Emma," Sarah said flatly. "She asked me to hear you out. 5 minutes." Richard nodded. He'd prepared a speech, but all his words evaporated. "I'm sorry," he said simply. "Not I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. What I did to you, Sarah, and to you, Emma, was unforgivable. I chose money over family. I chose comfort over your well-being. I ran away, and for 12 years I told myself lies." Sarah's hands gripped the blanket tighter. "I told myself you'd be better off without me," Richard continued, voice breaking. "That you'd find someone better. That my money and absence were somehow equivalent to parenting. I told myself not knowing was easier than facing what I'd done." He paused. "But Emma found me. She saved my life, and I can't unknow anymore. I can't pretend. So now you want to be a father?" Sarah's voice was sharp. "Now that it's convenient?" "No. I don't expect to be her father. You can't earn that by showing up after 11 years. But I want a chance to be something. Whatever Emma and you decide, I'm allowed to be." Richard looked at Emma. "If that's the person who fixed your mom's car and never speaks to you again, that's okay. If it's someone who sends birthday cards once a year, that's okay. If it's nothing at all, that's okay too." "But," Sarah prompted, "but I need you both to know I will never try to take Emma from you. Never. I know what you're afraid of, Sarah. I know you think I'll use lawyers to get custody. I won't. Emma belongs with you. You're her real parent. You earned that every single day for 11 years. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Then what do you want?" "I want to show up," Richard said. "Not in big dramatic ways, not with money and gifts. Just show up. Be present. Help when you need it. Disappear when you don't. Prove I can be something other than the man who left." "Why should we believe you?" Emma asked quietly. "You shouldn't. Not yet. But maybe if I keep showing up, day after day, eventually you'll see that I mean it." Richard looked at Sarah. "I know about the CPS evaluation today. I know you're living in your car. I know you're terrified." Sarah stiffened. "Are you going to use that against me?" "No, but I want to help." Richard took a breath. "I own properties all over Portland. There's a 2-bedroom unit that's been vacant for 3 months. I want you to live there. Rent-free for 1 year, then we discuss a reasonable rate based on your income." "No," Sarah said immediately. "Wait," Emma interjected. "Mom, just listen. Emma, we can't—" "Please, Mom, just listen." Emma looked at Richard. "Keep going. The apartment is nice but not fancy. Safe neighborhood, close to Emma's school, walking distance to the hospital, playground across the street." Richard kept his voice neutral. "If you refuse, it sits empty. If you accept, you give Emma a stable home and CPS no reason to take her away." Sarah's jaw clenched. "You're manipulating me, using Emma's safety." "Maybe I am," Richard admitted. "But Emma's safety is more important than your pride or my guilt. If you have another solution, I'll help with that instead. But if you don't—" He spread his hands. "Is accepting help from me really worse than losing her?" The question hung. Sarah looked at Emma, agony in her face, the impossible choice. "Mom," Emma said softly, "I want to stay with you. I don't care where we live, but I want to stay with you." A tear rolled down Sarah's cheek. "This isn't fair." "No," Richard agreed. "Nothing about this is fair, but fairness doesn't matter right now. Emma matters." Sarah was quiet. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible. 1 year, rent-free. After that, we pay market rate based on my income. I won't be in your debt forever. Deal. And you don't get a key. You don't get to show up whenever you want. If you want to see Emma, you ask. Through me. And I decide. Understood. And if you break your promise, if you disappear again, or try to take Emma or hurt her, I will make sure you never see her again. I don't care how much money you have." Richard met Sarah's fierce gaze. "I won't disappear, I won't hurt her, and I won't try to take her." "You have my word." "Your word didn't mean much 12 years ago." "I know, that's why I'm going to spend however long it takes proving that it means something now." Sarah looked at Emma. Emma nodded slightly. "Okay," Sarah said finally. "We'll take the apartment. But this doesn't mean I forgive you, and it doesn't mean we're a family." "I know. It just means I'm doing what's best for my daughter. That's all it needs to mean." A knock, a hospital administrator. "Ms. Bennett, the social worker from CPS is here." Sarah's face went pale. Emma's hand found her mother's. "Actually," Richard said, "could you tell her there's been a change in living arrangements, Mrs. Bennett has secured stable housing. I have the lease agreement here." He pulled out papers. "If she needs to verify, she can contact Morrison Properties." The administrator nodded. "I'll let her know." When the door closed, Sarah stared at Richard. "You already had the papers drawn up." "I hoped you'd say yes. There's a difference." "Is there?" Sarah's voice was bitter. "What I want is for Emma to be safe and happy. If that happened without me being part of it, I'd be okay with that too." Sarah didn't respond, but Emma was watching Richard, evaluating. "Can I see the apartment?" Emma asked. "Before we move in?" "Of course, any time." "Now?" Sarah looked startled. I just got discharged. Please, Mom, I just want to see it. Make sure it's okay." Sarah sighed. "Fine, but just a quick look." The apartment was in the Pearl District. Well-maintained building, not ostentatious. Diverse, lively, safe neighborhood. Children played in the playground across the street. Richard led them to Unit 2B, second floor. He'd had it cleaned and furnished simply: couch, dining table, beds in both bedrooms, basic kitchenware. Nothing fancy. Emma walked through slowly, opened closet doors, tested faucets, looked out windows. In the smaller bedroom, clearly hers, she stood in the center and turned in a slow circle. "There's a door I can close," she said wonderingly, "and a window with a real curtain." Sarah's face crumpled. She turned away quickly, but not before Richard saw the tears. The simple dignity of a door and curtain, luxuries to his daughter. "The lease is month to month for the first year," Richard said quietly to Sarah. "If you hate it, you can leave any time. No penalties." "Why are you really doing this?" Sarah asked, not looking at him. "The truth." "Because Emma deserves better than sleeping in a car. Because you deserve better than working yourself to death. Because I can help, and for once, I want to do something actually good." "That's not the whole truth." Richard was quiet. "Because every time I look at Emma, I see who I could have been. Who I should have been. And I can't change the past, but maybe I can affect the future. It doesn't make you her father." "I know." They stood in silence, watching Emma explore. She'd found the blue rabbit and was placing it carefully on the bed. "I'm scared," Sarah admitted quietly. "Scared that letting you in will hurt her. Scared that you'll leave again." "Those are all valid fears." But Emma's living in a car, Sarah. And whatever I am, I'm offering her a home." Sarah closed her eyes. "I hate that you're right." Emma emerged, face carefully neutral. "It's nice, better than nice." "Do you want to live here?" Sarah asked. Emma looked at her mother. "Only if it makes you happy too, Mom." "It makes me relieved." "That's not the same as happy." "Relieved is good enough for now," Emma said with wisdom beyond her years. Sarah turned to Richard. "When can we move in?" "Today, if you want, or tomorrow, whenever you're ready." "Today," Sarah decided, "before I change my mind." They didn't have much. Everything fit in the trunk and 2 garbage bags. Richard helped carry things up, careful not to intrude. When the last bag was in, he headed for the door. "Richard!" Emma's voice stopped him. He turned. "Yes?" "Thank you for the apartment and for showing up." "You're welcome. Are you going to keep showing up?" "If you want me to, yes." Emma considered. Maybe you could show up once a week, for dinner, if Mom says it's okay. Sarah looked startled. Ma'am, I'm not saying we're forgetting what he did, Emma said firmly, but he fixed your car and got us a home and kept his promises so far. Maybe he should get a chance to keep proving himself. Sarah looked between them. Finally she sighed. Wednesday evenings, 6 p.m. You bring dinner, nothing fancy. You stay for 1 hour. If you're even 5 minutes late, the invitation is revoked. I'll be here, Richard promised. And Richard, Sarah's voice was hard, if you hurt my daughter, I know you'll destroy me, and I'll deserve it. Richard met her eyes. But I'm going to do everything in my power not to give you that reason. He left them in their new home. The drive back felt different. The city looked the same, but Richard felt changed. He'd spent 12 years building an empire. Now he was trying to build something much harder. Trust. His phone buzzed. 17 missed calls, 43 emails, the board demanding attention, deals falling apart. But for once, Richard didn't care. He had dinner plans on Wednesday, and for the first time in 12 years, that felt more important than any business deal ever could. Wednesday came. Richard arrived at 5:55 p.m. with Italian food. He stood outside apartment 2B, heart pounding. He knocked at exactly 6:00 p.m. Emma opened the door. She'd showered, hair damp and neatly brushed. Clean clothes, new shoes on her feet. You're on time, she observed. I promised I would be. Emma studied him, then stepped aside. Mom's in the kitchen. She's nervous. Don't mention it. The apartment already looked like a home. Drawings on the refrigerator, a plant on the windowsill, small touches of permanence. Sarah emerged, wiping her hands on a dish towel. She looked better, rested, less gaunt. 3 days of sleeping in a real bed had brought color back. Hi, she said awkwardly. Hi, I brought Italian. It's fine. Sarah took the bags and unpacked onto the dining table. They sat in uncomfortable silence. Emma served herself pasta, watching both adults with careful eyes. So, Emma said, what do we talk about? I don't know, Richard admitted. I'm not good at this. That's obvious, Sarah muttered, then seemed to regret it. Sorry. No, it's fair. Richard pushed food around. I spent 12 years avoiding exactly this. What's normal anyway? Emma twirled pasta. Kids at school think normal is having 2 parents who live together. I just want normal to be having enough food and not wondering where we'll sleep. The casual acceptance of a life that should never have been hers made Richard's throat tight. You have both those things now, Sarah said gently. Thanks to him. Emma gestured with her fork. Which is weird. The person who made our life hard is now making it better. Life's complicated, Sarah said. That's a mom answer. It doesn't actually mean anything. Despite the tension, Sarah smiled slightly. You're too smart for your own good. Watching them together, the easy rapport, the obvious love, Richard felt like an outsider, which he was. They'd built a life together. He was just a visitor. Tell me about school, Richard ventured. What's your favorite subject? Reading. I like stories where people overcome impossible things. Emma took a bite of bread. What about you? I run a company, Morrison Industries. We develop real estate, buildings, apartments, shopping centers. Like this building? Yes, exactly. So, you make places for people to live, Emma considered. Do you ever think about the people who lived somewhere before you built on it? The question hit like an accusation. What do you mean? Like, if there was a neighborhood there before, where do those people go? Sarah's eyes flickered with interest. Sometimes there's relocation assistance, Richard said carefully. We try to minimize displacement. Try, Emma pressed. But do you actually succeed? Richard set down his fork. Honestly? Probably not as well as we should. Development often displaces lower-income communities. I've never thought much about it before. Why not? Because I was focused on profits and growth, not on people. Emma nodded slowly. At least you're honest about it. They ate in silence. Then Sarah spoke. Emma wants to be a writer when she grows up. She writes stories in notebooks. About 15 filled up. Really? Richard looked at Emma with genuine interest. What kind of stories? Emma shrugged, suddenly shy. Different kinds. Adventures, mysteries, sometimes sad ones about families. I'd like to read them sometime if you'd let me. Maybe, if you keep showing up for dinners. Everything was a test with Emma, small challenges to see if he'd follow through. I'll be here every Wednesday, Richard promised. What if you have important business stuff? Then I'll reschedule the business. This is more important. Emma looked skeptical. Mum says you used to choose work over everything. Emma, Sarah warned. It's okay, Richard said. She's right, I did. Work was my excuse to avoid real life, real relationships. It was easier to be successful in business than to be a good husband or father. And now? Emma challenged. Now I'm trying to be better. I can't promise I'll be good at it, but I can promise I'll try. Emma studied him. Okay. But I'm still watching you. I know. The rest of dinner passed with less tension. Small talk, Emma's teacher, Sarah's return to work, the playground. It wasn't warm or comfortable, but it was civil. A start. At exactly 7:00 p.m., Richard stood to leave. Thank you for dinner, Sarah said formally. Thank you for letting me come. Richard looked at Emma. I'll see you next Wednesday. If you show up, I will. At the door, Emma surprised him by holding out her hand for a handshake. Formal, distant, but contact. Richard shook her small hand carefully. You did okay tonight, Emma said quietly. Like 60% something instead of 5% nothing. Richard smiled despite himself. I'll take 60%. Don't get too confident, you could still mess up. I could, but I'm going to try very hard not to. Emma nodded, then closed the door. 60% something. It wasn't much, but it was more than he'd had a week ago. As Richard drove home, he realized something had shifted inside him. For the first time in 12 years, he felt like he was building something that mattered. Not an empire, not wealth, but something far more valuable. A chance, a second chance to be the man he should have been all along. The weeks rolled on. Richard showed up every Wednesday without fail. He rearranged board meetings, cancelled investor dinners, turned down opportunities that conflicted with 6:00 p.m. His business associates noticed. Maria asked one day, Sir, you've turned down 3 major deals this month. Is everything all right? Everything's fine. I just have other priorities now. Other priorities than Morrison Industries? Richard thought about Emma's face when she talked about her stories. Sarah's gradual thawing from hostile to civil to almost warm. Yes, he said firmly. Other priorities. Maria looked shocked, but said nothing. The business world buzzed with speculation Richard Morrison was softening. Some said he'd lost his edge. Let them whisper. Richard didn't care. In February, Emma invited him to her school's parent-teacher conference. Mum has to work and can't get off, Emma explained, and Miss Rodriguez wants to meet with a parent. So, would you maybe want to come? The question was casual, but Richard heard the hope underneath. Would he show up for something small and boring? I'd be honored, Richard said. He sat in a tiny chair, knees almost to his chest, while Miss Rodriguez reviewed Emma's progress. She was smart, Miss Rodriguez said. Brilliant, even. But she struggled with focus, completing assignments on time. She daydreamed a lot. Emma has a rich inner life, Miss Rodriguez said diplomatically, but she needs support staying grounded. I can help with that, Richard offered, if Emma would like. Emma beside him shrugged. Maybe, if you're actually good at math. I'm very good at math. Fine, but if you're boring about it, I'm stopping. That's how Richard Morrison started tutoring his 11-year-old daughter twice a week, Wednesdays early and Saturdays after dinner. They'd sit at the dining table, working through problems. Emma occasionally frustrated, and Richard learning patience. "You're better at this than I expected," Emma admitted one Saturday. "You explain things in ways that make sense. Thank you. You're better at this than you think. You just get in your own way sometimes." "Mom says that too." Emma chewed on her pencil. "Do you think I'm like you? In bad ways?" The question caught Richard off guard. "What do you mean?" "Like you said you used work to avoid real life." "I used daydreaming. We're both hiding from stuff." The insight was startling. "Maybe, but you're 11. You have time to learn better habits. I'm 45 and just figuring it out." "Is that why you're here? To figure stuff out?" "I'm here because I want to be, because you and your mom are the most important things in my life now." Emma looked skeptical. "More important than your company?" "Yes." "Prove it." "How?" Emma thought. "My school has a talent show in March. I'm going to read one of my stories. Will you come?" "Of course. Even if it's on a Thursday. I know you only do Wednesdays and Saturdays. I'll be there, Thursday, Friday, whatever day. I'll be there." Emma nodded slowly, filing away this new data point. Another test. March came with spring rain. Richard found himself tracking Emma's moods, noticing when she was quiet or upset. He learned she hated loud noises, a remnant of sleeping in dangerous places. That she hoarded food in her room, a habit from times when meals weren't guaranteed. That she had nightmares about being alone. Sarah shared these things reluctantly, trusting Richard with vulnerabilities. It felt like a gift. The talent show was March 12th at 7 p.m. Richard arrived at 6:30, finding a seat in the crowded auditorium. Sarah was already there, having left work early. They sat together, awkward but united. When Emma took the stage, small and nervous under bright lights, Richard's heart hammered. She looked so young, so fragile. But when she started reading her story, a tale about a bird learning to fly after a broken wing, her voice was clear and strong. The story was about second chances, about falling and rising, about trust and fear and courage. It was about him, about them, about their broken family learning to fly again. When Emma finished, the applause was thunderous. Richard stood, clapping until his hands hurt. Emma's eyes found his in the crowd, and she smiled, a real, genuine smile of pride and joy. Afterward, in the parking lot, Emma ran up to them. "You came, you both came." "Of course we did," Sarah said, pulling Emma into a hug. "You were amazing, baby." "Richard, what did you think?" Emma asked, suddenly vulnerable. "I think you're extraordinarily talented and brave. That story." Richard's voice caught. "That story was beautiful." Emma glowed. "Thanks, and thanks for coming. I wasn't sure you would." "I promised I would." "I know, but people break promises." "Not this promise, not anymore." Richard knelt to Emma's level. "I will show up for you, Emma. Every time, every event, every moment you want me there. I promise." Emma studied his face, then nodded. "Okay, I believe you. Like 90% believe you. I'll work on earning the last 10%. You're at 90% something now, by the way. Not nothing, something." It was the highest rating Emma had ever given him. Richard felt it like a victory. As they walked to their cars, Sarah touched Richard's arm. "Thank you for coming. It meant a lot to her. It meant a lot to me, too." They stood in the parking lot under fluorescent lights, and for the first time, Sarah didn't look at Richard with anger or resentment. She looked at him with something almost like respect. "Her birthday is next month," Sarah said. "April 15th. She wants a small party, just a few kids from school, cake, pizza, normal kid stuff. Can I help? With planning or paying or anything? You can come. As a guest, not as the person throwing the party. That's my job, but as someone who cares about her." "I'd like that." Sarah nodded. "And Richard, you've done well these past 4 months. Better than I expected, so maybe it's time to stop calling you Richard." "What should she call me?" "That's between you and Emma, but maybe ask her, see what she's comfortable with." The conversation with Emma came the following Wednesday. They were working on math when Richard said, "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. What do you want to call me? I mean, Richard is fine if that's what you prefer, but if you want to call me something else." Emma set down her pencil. "Are you asking if I want to call you Dad?" "Only if you want to. No pressure. I know I haven't earned that title." Emma was quiet for a long time. "I don't think I'm ready for Dad. That's too big, too much. That's okay. But maybe something between Richard and Dad." Emma chewed her lip. "What did your parents call your father?" "My father, he went by Pop or Pops." "Pops." Emma tested the word. "That's kind of nice. Old-fashioned, but nice. Is that what you'd like to call me?" "Maybe. Can I try it out? See if it feels right?" "Of course." Emma looked at him seriously. "Okay, Pops. But that means you're really making a commitment. Pops is a dad name, just not the full dad name." "I understand, and I'm making the commitment." "Good." Emma picked up her pencil again. "Now help me with number 7. It's stupid and makes no sense." Richard smiled, his heart full. Pops. He was Pops now. 90% something, and Pops. April 15th arrived bright and sunny. Emma's 12th birthday. Richard showed up at 2 p.m. when the party was scheduled. He brought a wrapped present, a leather-bound journal for her stories and expensive pens. "You didn't have to get me anything big," Emma protested, but her eyes shone as she examined the journal. "It's not big, it's practical. Every writer needs good tools." 8 kids from school came. They ate pizza, played games, sang happy birthday over a homemade cake Sarah had stayed up late baking. It was chaos and noise and perfect. Richard watched from the edge, not wanting to intrude, but Emma kept pulling him in, asking him to judge contests, help serve cake, take pictures. When the other kids left, and it was just the 3 of them cleaning up, Emma hugged Richard tightly. "Thank you for coming to my birthday, Pops." It was the first time she'd used the name out loud. Richard's eyes stung with tears he refused to let fall. "Thank you for letting me be here." "You're at 95% something now," Emma said. "Almost completely something." "What do I have to do to get to 100%? Emma pulled back, serious. "Just keep showing up, keep being here, keep proving you're not going anywhere." "I can do that." That night, after Emma was in bed, Sarah and Richard sat in the living room with coffee. "She's happy," Sarah said. "Really happy. I haven't seen her like this in years. She's an amazing kid. You did an incredible job raising her. We did it together, whether you were here or not. She's got your stubbornness, your intelligence." Sarah smiled softly. "And thankfully, some of my kindness. More than some. She's the best of both of us." They sat in comfortable silence. Then Sarah said, "I'm starting to forgive you." Richard looked at her, surprised. "Not completely," Sarah clarified. "And I'll never forget. But watching you with Emma these past 5 months, you're trying, really trying, and that counts for something." "Thank you, that means everything." "Don't thank me yet. Because if you backslide, if you disappear, if you hurt her, I know, and I won't. This isn't temporary, Sarah. This is who I am now." Sarah searched his face. "I want to believe that. Then believe it. I'm here. I'm staying. However long it takes to earn back your trust and Emma's love, I'll be here." Sarah nodded slowly. "Okay. Then let's see what happens next." But what happened next would test Richard in ways he never imagined, because real life was about to demand much more than he'd bargained for. 2 days after Emma's birthday, Sarah collapsed at work again. This time, it was worse, much worse. Richard got the call from Emma at 3 p.m. Her voice was shaking. "Pops, Mum's in the hospital, they're saying it's bad, really bad." Richard arrived at Portland General within 15 minutes. He found Emma in the waiting room, still in her school uniform, clutching her blue rabbit. Her face was pale, eyes red from crying. "What happened?" Richard asked, sitting beside her. She was at work. "She just collapsed." Emma's voice was small, scared. They won't tell me anything because I'm not 18. They keep asking for next of kin and I don't know who to call. We don't have anyone else. You have me now, Richard said firmly. Come on. He took Emma's hand and approached the nurse's station. I'm Richard Morrison. I'm here about Sarah Bennett. This is her daughter Emma. I'm Emma's father. What's going on? The nurse checked her computer. Mr. Morrison, Miss Bennett is in ICU. She's stable for now, but the doctor needs to speak with you. Room 512. They took the elevator up. Emma's hand never left Richard's. In the ICU, a doctor in blue scrubs approached them. Mr. Morrison, I'm Dr. Chen. We need to talk about Miss Bennett's condition. Emma stays with me, Richard said when the doctor glanced at her. Dr. Chen nodded. Ms. Bennett has advanced stage kidney disease. Based on her medical history, or lack thereof, we believe it's been progressing for years. She never sought treatment because she couldn't afford it. The collapse today was acute kidney failure. Emma's hand tightened on Richard's. What does that mean? Richard asked. It means she needs dialysis immediately. Long term, she'll need a kidney transplant. Dr. Chen's face was grave. Without treatment, she has weeks, maybe a month. Emma made a small sound, half sob, half gasp. Start the dialysis, Richard said immediately. Whatever she needs, money is not an object. There's another issue, Dr. Chen said quietly. Ms. Bennett has no insurance. She's been refusing treatment. She's asking to be discharged. What? Richard felt like the floor had dropped out. She can't be serious. She says she can't afford it. She's worried about the debt, about what happens to Emma if she can't work. Richard's chest tightened. Even now, dying, Sarah was thinking about Emma first. Can I see her? Richard asked. She specifically said she doesn't want to see you, only her daughter. Emma looked up at Richard, tears streaming down her face. I'm scared, Pops. I don't know what to do. Richard knelt down to her level. Listen to me, Emma. Your mom is going to be okay. I'm going to make sure of it. But I need you to do something for me. What? I need you to go in there and tell your mom that I'm handling everything. Tell her that she doesn't have to worry about money or bills or anything. Tell her that her only job is to get better. Can you do that? Emma nodded, wiping at her tears. And Emma, tell her. Tell her that I'm not going anywhere, that I'm here for both of you, no matter what. Emma hugged him tightly, then went into Sarah's room. Richard turned to Dr. Chen. Start whatever treatment she needs. I'll handle all costs. Draw up whatever papers need to be signed. Mr. Morrison, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. Possibly millions if she needs a transplant. I said money is not an object. Richard's voice was steel. Sarah Bennett gets the best care available. Spare no expense. Is that clear? Dr. Chen nodded. Crystal clear. And doctor, I need you to check if I'm a match for a kidney donation. Test me now. Dr. Chen looked surprised. Are you sure? The procedure is serious and there are risks. Test me now. While Dr. Chen arranged the tests, Richard made calls to his lawyer, to his accountant, to the hospital administrator. Within an hour, he'd set up a medical trust for Sarah, ensured all her bills were paid, and arranged for the best nephrologist in the state to consult. Emma emerged from Sarah's room, eyes red but calmer. What did she say? Richard asked. She's mad at you, Emma said. She says she doesn't want your charity, that she can't accept this. What did you tell her? I told her she's being stupid. Emma's voice was fierce despite her tears. I told her that being too proud to accept help when she's dying is the dumbest thing ever. I told her that I need her alive more than I need her to be right. Richard felt a surge of pride. Good. That's exactly what she needed to hear. Will she be okay, Pops? Tell me the truth. Richard wanted to lie, to reassure her that everything would be fine, but Emma deserved the truth. I don't know, he said honestly, but I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure she is. And Emma, No matter what happens, you're not alone. You have me now, I promise you that." Emma nodded, then leaned against him. "I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you showed up. I'll always show up. That's a promise I'll never break." They sat in the waiting room while Sarah underwent dialysis. Hours passed. Richard ordered food, but neither of them could eat. Emma dozed fitfully against his shoulder, exhausted from fear and tears. At midnight, Dr. Chen returned. "Ms. Bennett is stable. The dialysis went well. She'll need it 3 times a week going forward." "And the kidney match?" Richard asked. "We'll have results in 48 hours. Dr. Chen paused. "Mr. Morrison, even if you're a match, Ms. Bennett has to agree to accept the kidney. She's refusing all donations." "She'll agree," Richard said with more confidence than he felt. "She has to." But when he finally convinced the nurses to let him see Sarah after Emma had fallen asleep in the waiting room, the woman in the hospital bed was not the Sarah who'd been gradually warming to him. She was furious. "Get out!" Sarah said the moment she saw him. "You had no right. You were dying," Richard said simply. "I had every right. This is exactly what I was afraid of." Sarah's voice was weak but angry. "Now I'm in your debt. Now you have control. Now you can take Emma whenever you want, because I can't afford to fight you." The accusation hit hard. "That's not what this is about." "Isn't it? You swoop in, play hero, save the day, and suddenly I owe you everything? You don't owe me anything, Sarah. This isn't about debt or control. This is about Emma not losing her mother." "I can't afford this treatment, Richard. Do you know what dialysis costs? What a transplant costs? I'll be paying this off for the rest of my life." "You won't be paying anything. I've set up a medical trust. Everything is covered." "I don't want your trust. I don't want to be another one of your charity cases." "This isn't charity." Richard's voice rose, then dropped. "Sarah, you're the mother of my child. You're the woman who raised my daughter when I abandoned you both. If anyone owes anyone anything, I owe you. This is me trying to pay back a debt that can never be repaid." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I can't accept a kidney from you." "Why not?" "Because then I'd have a piece of you inside me forever. Because I'd never be free of you. Because Emma would feel like she owes you her mother's life." Richard sat in the chair beside her bed. "Or maybe it's because accepting help from me means admitting that you can't do everything alone, that you need someone. And you've spent 12 years being strong and independent and proving you don't need me." Sarah looked away. "Don't psychoanalyze me. I'm not. I'm just telling you the truth." Richard leaned forward. "Sarah, I know I don't deserve your trust. I know I destroyed any right to be part of your life, but Emma needs you, and if my kidney can save you, then that's the least I can do, the absolute least. And if you're not a match, then we find someone who is. We test everyone. We find a donor, whatever it takes." Sarah was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "I'm scared, Richard. I'm so scared." "I know. But you don't have to be scared alone anymore. I'm here, and I'm not leaving." Sarah turned to look at him, really look at him. "You mean that, don't you? You've actually changed." "I'm trying to. Every day, I'm trying to be the man I should have been 12 years ago." "It's too late for us," Sarah said softly. "You know that, right? We can never go back." "I know. I'm not trying to go back. I'm just trying to move forward. As Emma's father, as your friend, if you'll let me be that." Sarah's laugh was watery. "Friend? That's such a strange word for what we are. What are we? I don't know. 2 people who loved each other once. 2 people who made a beautiful child. 2 people who hurt each other deeply." Sarah wiped at her tears. 2 people who are trying to figure out how to exist in the same world. "I can live with that definition," Richard said. They sat in silence. Then Sarah said, "If you're a match, and if the doctors say it's safe for you, I'll accept the kidney. Not because I want to, but because Emma needs her mother more than I need my pride." Richard felt relief wash over him. "Thank you. Don't thank me. Just don't disappear after this. Don't save my life and then vanish." Emma couldn't handle that. "I'm not going anywhere. I thought we'd established that by now. Actions and words are different things, Richard. You've been showing up for 5 months. That's good. But this is different. This is years, decades. This is forever. I know, and I'm ready for that." Sarah studied his face. "I think you actually might be." 2 days later, Dr. Chen came to Sarah's room with the test results. Richard and Emma were both there, having barely left the hospital. "Mr. Morrison," Dr. Chen said, "you're a perfect match." Emma's face lit up. Sarah's filled with complicated emotions: relief, fear, gratitude, resentment. "When can we do the surgery?" Richard asked. "We'd need to schedule it within the next 2 weeks. Ms. Bennett's condition is deteriorating. We can't wait much longer." Sarah looked at Richard. "Are you sure about this? Really sure? Once you donate a kidney, you can't take it back." "I've never been more sure of anything in my life," Richard said. The surgery was scheduled for April 30th, 15 days after Emma's birthday. Those 15 days were strange, a suspended reality where the three of them existed in a bubble of waiting. Richard moved his most important meetings to the hospital. His board was furious, but he didn't care. Emma stayed with him at his penthouse on the night Sarah insisted she sleep in a real bed instead of a hospital chair. It was the first time Emma had seen where he lived. She stood in the middle of his penthouse, looking around at the expensive furniture, the marble floors, the view of the entire city. "This is where you live?" Emma asked quietly. "Yes, it's so big and empty." Richard looked around, seeing it through her eyes. She was right. It was a showcase, not a home, beautiful and soulless. "I never thought about it before," Richard admitted. "But you're right, it's empty. Our apartment is small, but it feels warm. This feels cold." "That's because a home isn't about the space. It's about the people in it, and I've been alone here for a long time." Emma walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. "Is this what you chose instead of us? This view?" The question was simple, but devastating. "Yes," Richard said, "and it was the worst trade I ever made." Emma turned to look at him. "Do you regret it? Really regret it? Every single day?" "Good," Emma said. "You should." They stood in silence. Then Emma said, "I'm scared about the surgery. What if something goes wrong?" "Nothing will go wrong. But what if it does? What if you die? Or what if Mom dies? Or what if you both die and I'm all alone?" Richard crossed to her, kneeling down. "Emma, look at me. Nothing is going to happen. The surgery is routine. Thousands of people donate kidneys every year. Your mom is going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. And you're not going to be alone. But you don't know that. You can't promise that." "You're right. I can't promise that nothing will ever go wrong. But I can promise that whatever happens, I've made sure you're taken care of. I've updated my will. If anything happens to me, everything I have goes to you and your mom. You'll never have to worry about money or housing or anything." "I don't care about money," Emma said fiercely. "I care about people. I care about you and Mom. Money doesn't matter if you're both gone." Richard pulled her into a hug. "We're not going anywhere. Your mom is going to get my kidney and she's going to get better and we're all going to go home together." "Promise?" "I promise to do everything in my power to make that happen." Emma clung to him, and Richard realized how far they'd come. 5 months ago, she wouldn't let him touch her. Now, she was seeking comfort in his arms. He was Pops. He was 95% something. He was almost a father. The night before the surgery, Richard couldn't sleep. He went to Sarah's hospital room at 2 a.m. and found her awake, staring at the ceiling. "Can't sleep either?" Richard asked from the doorway. Sarah turned to look at him. "Too much to think about. Can I come in? It's not like I'm going anywhere." Richard sat in the chair beside her bed. They'd spent so many hours in this room over the past 2 weeks, talking about Emma, about logistics, about everything except the obvious. Are you scared? Sarah asked. Terrified. Good. That makes me feel less weak for being scared too. Sarah, you're the strongest person I know. Being scared doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Sarah was quiet. Then she said, if something happens to me tomorrow, nothing will happen. But if it does, promise me you'll take care of Emma. Really take care of her. Not just financially, emotionally. Be the father she deserves. I promise, but nothing is going to happen. And Richard, if I don't make it, I need you to know something. Don't talk like that. Listen to me. Sarah's voice was urgent. If I don't make it, I need you to know that I forgive you completely. For leaving, for everything, I forgive you. Richard felt tears sting his eyes. Sarah, I'm not saying I forgot. I'm not saying it didn't hurt, but I forgive you. Because Emma needs you, and she can't have you if I'm holding on to anger from beyond the grave. You're not going anywhere. You're going to be fine, and you're going to get to hold on to your anger for many more years. Sarah smiled weakly. I don't know if I want to hold on to it anymore. It's exhausting being angry. And you've shown up, Richard. For 5 months you've shown up. That has to count for something. It counts for everything to me. They sat in silence. Then Sarah said, thank you for doing this, for giving me your kidney, for giving me more time with Emma. You don't have to thank me. This is the least I can do. It's not the least. It's a huge thing. It's everything. Sarah's voice cracked. I'm going to have a piece of you inside me forever. That's strange and intimate and terrifying. It means we'll always be connected. Through Emma. Through this. Maybe that's how it was always supposed to be. Maybe, Sarah said softly. At 6 a.m., they wheeled Sarah to pre-op. Emma was there, having slept in the waiting room, despite Richard's protests. She looked small and scared, and far too young to be dealing with this. Sarah reached for Emma's hand. I love you, baby, more than anything in the world. I love you too, Mom. Come back to me, okay? I will. I promise. They wheeled Sarah away. Then it was Richard's turn. As they prepared him for surgery, he thought about how strange life was. 5 months ago, he hadn't known his daughter. Sarah had hated him. He'd been alone in his empty penthouse. Now he was about to give up an organ to save the woman he'd once loved, for the daughter who was becoming his whole world. The last thing he saw before the anesthesia took him was